All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun, and we have returned to the world of devs. We are now at the penultimate episode of the series, episode 7. I want to thank everybody who has chosen to watch these, revisiting this show with me. I think it's a really incredible show with a lot to say about everything. Which is kind of a big thing in this episode. This is about everything. Um, and if you're liking what we're doing here, make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button. Like every other person says, every time. So again, going into this, I didn't think I was going to have anything to say. I didn't know. I never know what the challenge is going to be. I keep waiting for it to just be straightforward, because in the end, this show is very straightforward. Everything like predictable that you could think to happen happens. Everything, there are no real twists. We keep waiting for twists, and instead what happens is just reality. Certain things like this happens, which leads to this, which causes this, which causes this, which causes this, which causes this. Even later on, somebody says, I made this choice, but like in this universe, they're saying that doesn't mean anything. You were always going to make that choice. And that's a scary, scary thing. And that's another thing that gets brought up, is knowing everything kind of is a pretty scary thought process. Like we all wish we say we all wish we had all the secrets of the universe, but honestly, I think not knowing is probably better for us. And I think one of the big themes of this show, you could say, is we've talked about the could and the should. What does having all the answers, what does being able to see everything do to you? And I really love this cold open. Again, this cold open was it right off the bat. I ended up writing, oh, I guess I do have something to talk about, because immediately um, we hear these words repeated. Uh, I had to like open the bruise up and let some of the bruised blood come out to show them. And it's said a couple of times. And then there's a woman vocalizing. And then we see like a cave, and it's prehistoric men, it's cavemen. And they're by a fire. And we see like kind of the cave opening. And then we hear, come out, And we see this car go down a kind of a tight corner. And then we see Lyndon sitting by a dam. And then they start saying, come out to show them, come out to show them. Well, the first thing that I really, because I knew that this wasn't just in here, this come out to show them line wasn't just thrown in there by Alex Garland because it sounded interesting, or it had a vibe or something to it. If you don't know, which I didn't, come out is a 19, and I'm just, look, I'm reading off of something, right? I took notes, but I'm reading off of something and just going off my notes and freestyling it. But this is a 1966 piece by American composer Stephen Reich. And what it was is he was asked to compose this by this. He was given a bunch of tapes to take footage from, to make kind of a collage of sound for a benefit for the Harlem Six. Okay, so back in 1966, who are the Harlem Six? Well, the Harlem Six were 6 black youths arrested for a murder of Margaret Sugar, a Hungarian refugee in Harlem, in the weeks following the Little Fruit Stand riot of 1964. Well, what's the Little Fruit Stand riot of 1964? Well, a fruit stand was knocked over. The owner blew a whistle to stop children taking his spilled fruit. This whistle alerted members of Special Tactical Patrol stationed in various basements throughout the community. The children tried to run away but were beaten by the police. Several adults attempting to intervene were also beaten. Frank Stafford, a black salesman, sought to halt the attack and was battered so severely that he lost an eye. Frank Stafford, Wallace Baker, and Daniel Ham were all taken to the hospital following the riot. The owner of the fruit stand told police that Wallace Baker and Daniel Ham had nothing to do with the fruit stand incident. They had only been involved in their attempt to protect the children from the brutality of police. And then this leads to what would end up being the murder of Margaret Sugar. And it turns out that only one of the 6 were actually responsible, while the lead witness is generally considered the actual perpetrator, Truman Nelson, a civil rights activist and New Yorker who had asked Reich to come. Oh, okay. Truman Nelson's not the person that they're talking about. That's the end of the sentence. So whoever was like, yeah, the lead witness was the one who actually killed the person, killed this refugee. Truman Nelson is a civil rights activist who asked Reich to compose a sound collage that was separate from Come Out, and he gave him a collection of tapes with recorded voices to use as source material. And out of all of this came out these 4 looped seconds of Daniel Ham saying, I had to like open the bruise up and let some of the blood come out to show them. Well, what is he talking about? Well, the voice of Daniel Ham, basically, he's 19 at the time, and he says this, that he had to open up the bruise and let some of the bruise blood come out to show them. He was alluding to how Ham had punctured a bruise on his own body to convince police that he had been beaten while in jail. That the police had not previously dealt with Ham's injuries since he did not appear seriously wounded, and they had beaten him themselves. This marks the first time that a member of the 5% Nation appeared on a published recording. So, yeah, I don't think that Alex Garland put that in there. And if you want more information, I definitely suggest you look it up. And if you want to listen to the actual composition, you can find several versions on YouTube. It is just those lines over and over, done with different tempos, different beats. Used. It's an interesting piece of art. And what all that, like some of that stuff out of context, we will find out, like why Linden by the Dam is important, and the cave part and all that stuff. Now, before everything gets really dark, it is very nice to see Lily and Jamie have another really sweet moment where they fake argue over fake chores that they never said to do, that they never said they'd do in the first place, to make their situation feel normal, to just not be awkward and just accept that they're together and that this is normal, and to just, they're trying to like move on or whatever life they have left, or, they're not going to spend it being awkward around each other. They're just going to be together. And it is really nice because, again, it's all like you're sitting here waiting like, oh, yeah, that's really great. They've moved on. But like everything that's still going on, like he broke her out of an insane asylum. People will be looking, like they only have a certain amount of time before somebody comes looking. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is the thing that we know is going to happen, because Kenton was following them the night before when they went to Katie and Forrest, and he thinks they're all buddies now, and that he's, he alone is going to have to close this loop on this little group of people. It's starting with Lily and James. But first, Katie and Forrest at his home. And Katie's has seen so much that basically she kind of walks around seeing all the different versions of things. I think in this situation, she's seeing little versions of Amaya, and one with Amaya and her mother, and just in this house, I almost feel like Katie's seen the code like the Matrix a little bit, like once you see it, they just, all you can see is that code to these people. And I think to Katie, this is kind of like code. And she also just feels very comforted, like to her, I think having all the answers is comforting. Maybe it's like it proves, something that she believed in. It's now actually there and happening, and whatever else happens, it's when you break the laws of the universe, or you break through to see everything. I think, what do you do after that? I think there's a line in an episode of there's a line in the episode of the X-Files where this guy talks about flying a UFO. Like one of the most, like, can you imagine? What would you do? Like, what would you think of? What would you like? What's the high watermark after that? When you get done with that, and it's like afterwards, the guy's like, sex seems kind of trite. And that's what I kind of feel like Katie's just like, what else can she experience that would matter? You know? I think to her, at least, that's how it is. And in some ways, like, Amaya is there. Or they're kind of trying to show us that, like, I feel like that Amaya is there and not there, like the mouse. Existing, not existing, dead, all at the same time. All different versions happening all at the same time. Do all the universes basically just stacked on each other. And back at the lab, they've gone rogue and gone back a billion years. No one's listening to Forrest anymore. Now that they've seen that Lyndon's way of doing things works, what do they need Forrest's, sim for anymore if they can just do this now? And they go back a billion years. Because why not? But immediately, one of them says, we've done all this. Why don't I feel good about it? So Stewart's like, well, that's your unconscious mind saying, uh-oh. Because they were very recently, up until this moment, they were in reality where they were just working on a project, a sim. But now they've cracked it. The thing works. And this is the new reality. And in his mind, they've pretty much traded places with the machine. Like, they're in it. Like, the machine is them. It's everything. So now, like, the project that they're working on is basically them, everything that's going on. And that's the reality right there. And then he lets them see forward. 1 second. And they can't handle it. They immediately start rejecting that they're doing the exact things, or the other is predicting it, or they'll do it like a half beat, like before, and the other one will react. And they were like, well, we're not in this box. It contains everything but us. But that's when he does that, to show that they are in the box. We're all in the box. Everything that happens is in this box. A box within a box for infinity. So, uh-oh. Meanwhile, Forrest and Katie go to face their destiny, and it's like such a calm thing of like, well, I think I'm gonna go. Yes, I know. Like, how far to this day do we know? Up to a point. It's like she goes to leave, and he's like, remember, Lyndon's in the car, and that whole thing. Like, the same way you'd say, don't forget to take out the trash. The garbage guy is usually late. You might still have a chance to get it out there. Like, just so matter of factly. And Lyndon, again, it's like she knows that she should know that they know that she's there. She should just walk up to the door, but she still is hiding in her car as if Katie wouldn't know that she'd be there. It's interesting. that she would not, that she would stick to thinking that way, even though she knows it. So they go to the very scenic Crystal Springs Dam of all places to talk. Why not? That's an interesting place to have a, you know, this kind of conversation that breaks the universe. Oh, here comes a train. Now, one of the things that we get a little bit intercut with is Pete. This is the episode where we finally find out about Pete. He's not an undercover cop, okay? But I think it was important to show that he was off, like having, like doing his own thing instead of like sitting there by Lily's. Like he's not far, he's not too far, but he's not, sitting on the stoop. And it makes sense now why he's like spending less time there once we find out what's really going on. But Lily and Jamie finally discuss what happened between her and Katie. And her explanation is basically that the tech nerds are having the wettest dream they could ever possibly have. The one where they can basically reduce everything to nothing, to just code, that everything is computable and or computational. And that they've basically just, I love how she just breaks it down that simply. And she seems unfazed by this horrifying news. And maybe it's because she kind of like knows that in some ways everything has changed, but doesn't really know still like the full extent of it, because she's still fighting it. She's like, she knows that all I have to do is not go there. All I have to do is just enjoy my day, and that's how I can screw them over. She's still going by that kind of thing, that the story is just not going to let her, have free will. Something will cause her to go there. Now, I don't know if we like, no, I don't know if anybody ever has these kind of like, we can't know, right? What choice we're going. Well, we could kind of know, like, I could say in an hour I'm going to have a sandwich. And then let's say I don't. Was that a choice or did I just forget? You know what I mean? Like, but they just go back to chilling out, which is even worse because it's just like, because this episode's long. This episode feels long. And I think it's because myself watching it, I'm intense, like, even though I know what's coming, it's like my fear of like the experience of watching the inevitable play out are things that I'm looking forward to seeing happen. But it's still like fascinating to watch. So I'm sitting there like on the edge of my seat for inevitability. Like, when did that become interesting to watch? But somehow Alex Garland has been pulling this off the entire series. Now, Katie and Lyndon have their big moment. Katie wondering, even though she's seen this and lived this over and over and over and over again, she still asks the question, which is something that, like, I think is interesting to as some of Lyndon's responses, right? Because she wants to know, why didn't you look into the future? And she's like, well, why ask the question if you already know the answer? Literally, why are you even, like, what I'm going to say, so why are you asking? And Katie smiles, like, because it's just, like, she's just so in, like, every single thing that happens is, like, I think reinforces her, like, yep, this is happening. This is what we've done. But Lyndon likes, and I do like this line, I really do. It's like, while I have the illusion of free will, I'm going to believe, I have free will, and that nothing, can affect me. That the many worlds are real, and I don't, he's wrong, And do you know that? Do you know that he's wrong? Do you know that Forrest was wrong? Do you know that my thing was like just happened to be right? And no, his way of wanting it to happen, to will it to happen, you know, wasn't going to change the truth. And I also find that interesting that that Forrest knows that it's true, but he's still angry. Why? Well, then that means like, well, I think he feels better because now he's like, well, he's angry, but he feels better. He's angry because it didn't work the way he wanted it to, but at the same time, he gets exactly what he wanted, which was absolution. Like, oh, it was always going to happen like this. Or maybe he's just given over to it because here it is and clear as day, and he knows where this is headed no matter what, whether he wants to accept it or not. So they start talking about how Lyndon's apparently going to go over the rail. Because, I mean, look, they went to the dam. So, again, where does your mind go? Oh, somebody's going to jump off that dam. Yes, exactly. Predictable, inevitable. But why is it inevitable? You know? So she goes there and she tells her, like, yeah, you're going to get over the railing. And, well, do I fall? Do I not fall? And it's like, no, it's an act of faith. Like, there's versions of you, and if the multiverse is real, you fall, but there's many of you that go on. All the versions of you that go on that still want to work at devs, which I think is hilarious how Katie reacts to that. Like, you're fighting for your job right now. Like, what job really is there? You've done the job. The job is over. Does she just want access? But she's told, like, yeah, there's gonna the ones of you that live are they go on, but you just don't know if you're one of them. And she realizes that it's a perfect circle. And she's goes up to do it, like, and she stands there, and that's when they start playing the poem Obeyed, if I'm saying this right. It's 1977 from Philip Larkin. So we start hearing Stewart's voice over everything, and he's quoting this poem. And the theme of this poem is the terror of death, our own mortality, being aware of it, but also being in denial of it. Like they talk about, religion tries to, the idea that we don't really die, that we go on, right? The way to make ourselves feel better about dying. And I've always said, nothing's going to make me feel good about dying. Going to some afterlife, that's not even life. That's just, even if that was real, that to me is just like I want to be some ethereal thing that just goes on like as more of like a thought, as more of like I don't know, like a feeling, a vibe. And then you go, well, you can't know. You got to have, fuck you. Let me just stop that right there. Before I get like angry at my own self for bringing it up. But yes, look up that poem if you want to know more, because there is it's dense. And the terror of death. I mean, look, I'm the kind of kid who, when I was worried, like I saw 15 as the age to be. So I was like, okay, it's only so many years before I'm 15. But then I started going, as I got closer to 15, I started thinking, well, then how many years? And it's 15. So it's like, 1990, I turned 15. That means in, 2005, I'm going to be 30. And I was that fear of like, oh no, like, and then once I got past that and I hit 30, I was like, you started to think, oh, how long till you turn 45? Like, and you spend so much time worrying about death that you're not living. And so the terror of death in that poem, very real. And I don't know if I ever want to, like, I appreciate sometimes that this art is out there, but man, it's some depressing stuff. But just because it's depressing doesn't make it valid or not good. And this is where Forrest faces Stewart like that. He tells him, "Devs worked. We ignored you. We all ignored you. We made the universe as it is, not the one that you wanted." And he also kind of goads him too, because he quotes this poem, and Forrest is like, "Oh, who said that?" And he's like, "Guess." And he doesn't, and that bothers him because it's like you could find out, like, but you can't even guess. You can't even guess because you don't even know. Again, bringing up kind of his intelligence in the first place, that this guy was ideas, right? He wanted things to happen. He was eating leaves and shit, but like, how smart is he really? Like, just because, oh, I do this to eat like this, and yeah, I made this company and I hire a bunch of people who know how to do these things. I hire a bunch of people to try to make my ideas come forth, but he's just basically the idea man. And I'm not saying that he is not smart. And I'm not saying that like Stewart's even smarter than him or whatever in just different ways, but to Stewart, in the ways that matter, Forrest is an idiot. I mean, he asks him like about, like, who is Mark Antony? He's like, come on, guess. Who is he? Who is he? You won't even guess. Now we get to where it just gets really, really sad. But I love the shot. It's Pete in the by, I don't know what the term is. I want to say foreground, but yeah, Pete's in the foreground, and you can see like he's doing something, and Kenton walking behind him in the background is really creepy, knowing that like if Pete saw this guy, he wouldn't be sitting there. Like we all know now, like inevitability, where this is all going. That nice moment they're having, this fact that they're sitting there and they didn't run. All this is happening because of all, the choices. Like they could have chosen to get the hell out of Dodge, but they didn't. And now Kenton's there. And what do you think's gonna happen? They're just kids. They don't know shit. We saw Jamie couldn't handle it before. And now he's gotten everything he wants. And maybe this is what Forrest means by everything's gonna work out. But like in a second, we'll get to before the end. We'll get to what I think about Forrest telling Jamie everything's gonna be just fine in the end. But I don't think that I'll say this. I don't think Forrest really cared about like. I don't think he was really thinking too much about Jamie in that moment. Maybe he was. I don't know. But there, he's cutting lemons for the water, and it's all sweet, and you're just like, oh my god, it's all about to be horrible, and it is. It's just, and it's so like real feeling. The fact that the door just opens and there's the guy standing in front of you, and you're carrying a tray of water. What are you going to do? You might as well have your pants around your ankles, and it's done. You're already dead, and you don't even, and the way he just shoots him, and just boom, 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 like, but like, not like he shoots him, he stumbles, he's trying to get towards Lily so he can warn her in that way, knowing he's dead, and he gets shot like a bunch more times by a silencer. And even and as I'm saying, it's like I knew this was going to happen. It's still like I'm talking about it, and even though this is like a fictional show, it just, the way that they did that, it just felt so real. Like, oh my god, Zach Grenier just killed the actor who plays Jamie. But Lily does get the drop on Kenton. He gets distracted seeing the fuck you in the window, so that she smashes him up good with the lamp. But I mean, this guy is like, he's ex-CIA, I guess. He's probably taking a lamp to the face, I guess. I don't know, but like, he is killing her. And then, like I said, predictably, there comes Pete. Piano wire, though. As soon as I saw the piano wire, I went, Pete's not homeless. Well, he's homeless by choice. But when he started speaking Russian, I was like, oh, fuck. Why didn't I think of that? Maybe I did way back when. I don't know. Feels like a million years ago already. But Pete's Russian. Pete kills Kenton, to the horrific look on Lily's face, who's just, she has experienced so much trauma in just the course of a few days. And we go back to the cave painting, except this time Forrest is watching. And that's pretty much it. Like, it's just, we now know the context of the cave, that Forrest went in there, as pissed off as he was, he went back in and he looked, and now he's looking at ancient man. And we finally get Pete's now, like, who he is. Pete's Russian. He was there to watch and protect Sergei if he could. Once that happened, what happened to Sergei happened, he was then told to watch Lily, but not protect. And that I chose, okay, because I chose to do this, now there's problems. But it's not really problems for me, because anything happens to me, my side, the Russians will just take me and I'll disappear and I'm good. But it's not good for you because you're an American citizen and this happened, and what are you going to do? And he tells her that she needs to leave for Hong Kong immediately because of they can't be, there's no extradition in Hong Kong. And that, you could get the CIA to help, but then you would end up in their world full of interrogations and processing. So it's, the nice guy, he did the nice thing. He saved her life, but he has to tell her that the life you had is over. And the choice you have now is about the life that you have next. And for her, apparently, it'll be going to DEVS. Me, I don't know. But we go back to Forrest and Katie, who we now know they're watching the cave system in France that's like 30,000 years ago. And Katie goes, yeah, I saw Stuart in the tunnel. He's quoting Shakespeare or something. And Forrest is like, oh, so that's who it was. And it's like, no. Katie didn't know who it was either. But you know what? No, I didn't know who it was. But I think, again, it's supposed to be kind of a dig at Forrest's, like, intelligence. But he's just fascinated now. Now he's just given over. It's us in caves. And that, and he's been watching it for, like, probably zipping around back and forth. They're like, I watched this girl and I watched her life. She gives birth to 5 kids, dies in her early 30s. And that we lived, like, he thought, how could we live in caves for so long? And, he's saying that we lived in caves for like 5,000 years. And it's like, how could nothing change in that amount of time? But it's like, yeah, but there were less people. And it's like, the change that you're looking for wouldn't be as present because we have less impact on the world around us, which means the less things that are happening affect us. Things that we don't notice. There are things happening and changing in the world all the time. But if, if the tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound kind of thing a little bit, if humans being like, well, if it doesn't affect me, and did it really happen? So there was change always going on. Just for us, we just weren't progressing. We weren't evolving. But that's the thing. Evolution takes time. And I love this show. And that's at least how I see it anyway. So they just sit and wait for Lily, watching dinosaurs and home movies. But and I bring this up. I'm bringing this up again, that how everything that's happening in this is the inevitability of it all and the predictability of it all, and there's no real twists and turns. Yet somehow Alex Garland weaves this story together so that you feel like you're seeing all kinds of twists and turns. At least to me, I am. You know what I mean? Like, I think the twists and turns are in my own brain, where I have to realize that looking for, suddenly some. What's the term? The subverting expectations just isn't going to happen. Except I think that is the subversion of expectations, is that my expectations were subverted by giving me predictable, yet somehow unpredictable in its predictability. And I just love it. And Lily goes to face her destiny. Past security, over to Stuart. I don't know you. I've never seen you before. That look of that I love, because it's like the fact that he has access to everything, and he's already just kind of down in the dumps and stuff, and just being maudlin with his poetry. Seeing somebody that he didn't see, seeing something he didn't see coming in the version of a person, I think was a big moment for that character just then. Like, you thought there were no more right turns. Suddenly there's somebody you don't know there. But he says that what's ahead is not good for anybody, and that he doesn't recommend that she goes there. She seems like a nice girl, and she should turn around. But she's like, I don't think I can. And he goes, well, then if you can't, you can't. And he lets her on the tram, the little elevator over the electromagnetics. And that's where the episode ends. I was like, are they actually, this felt like one of those things where I was like, she's there at DEVS. What else is there left to do? There's a 50-minute episode 8, which, okay, you factor in, it's still like about 47 minutes. How is there 47 minutes left of this show? Well, we're going to find out with episode 8. Hopefully very soon. I'm going to try to record that as soon as I can. Hopefully be done recording this. So you shouldn't have to wait for either 7 or 8, or episode 8 for very long, at least after this one. So if you're liking how we're talking about this show, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. I'm very happy that this continues to give me all kinds of things to think about as I watch it. And I love sharing those thoughts with everybody else. So leave a comment as well. What do you guys think about this show? What do you guys think about, what it's trying to say? What are your opinions and thoughts on this? So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back with episode 8. Be good to each other. Make some choices that, I don't know, try to fight the box that has everything in it. Bye.
You ever flown a flying saucer? Afterwards, sex seems trite.